That song in particular, it's basically me crying out for help.
In a world where fame screams, his success whispers. No diamond chains, no headline scandals, no need to prove he's arrived because he never left himself behind. Syar moves differently. While others race toward the spotlight, he walks through it like a man already full of light. Every lyric he writes sounds like truth wrapped in velvet, smooth, deliberate, and deeply human. Born in Inglewood, raised in rhythm, he carries soul in his silence. His voice doesn't shout for attention. It invites you to listen. They call it modesty. He calls it balance. Between fame and faith. Between artistry and anonymity. Where other stars flash their luxury, Syar lives it in peace, in patience, in purpose. His story isn't about escaping the neighborhood. It's about redefining what making it means. Because for him, luxury isn't gold. It's grace. Before the world knew him as Sir, he was just Daryl the quiet kid from Inglewood with a notebook full of melodies and a dream too humble to shout. In his house, music wasn't a hobby. It was the family language. His mother is a gifted singer. His brothers perform in their own right. And his father? A studio engineer who filled their home with cables, microphones, and rhythm. That was Sears' inheritance. Not money, not fame, but music as bloodline. Every Sunday morning, he learned that a song could move people before words ever could. That harmony wasn't just sound, it was unity. He grew up where gospel met grit, where faith kept people alive when dreams couldn't pay the bills. In Inglewood, every block carried a rhythm, the hum of traffic, the laughter of neighbors, the sirens at night, and somehow, Syar found melody in all of it. Before fame, he worked wherever he could. At a gym, helping strangers chase strength. In tech support, listening to voices he'd never meet. Even at a music store, fixing instruments he couldn't afford to buy. Every job felt temporary, but every paycheck funded a studio session one step closer to what he was born to do. Still, reality pressed hard. Dreams don't pay rent, and music, no matter how soulful, doesn't always feed the soul. There were nights when he questioned it all, and wondered if maybe he'd missed his moment. But somewhere between doubt and devotion, he kept writing, kept recording, kept believing. Then came 2015, the year everything changed. While others chased charts, he chased truth. He recorded 7 Sundays on his own terms, no label, no gimmicks, no hype, just warm bass lines, unfiltered emotion, and stories that sounded like home. What began as a quiet, independent release became a whisper that spread across the internet, the kind of whisper that makes people stop scrolling and just listen. Critics called it honest, fans called it real, Syar called it therapy. That project caught the attention of someone unexpected, Top Dog Entertainment, the same home that birthed Kendrick Lamar, SZA, and Schoolboy Q. When TDE reached out, it wasn't for a hit, it was for the heart. They saw in Sir something rare, a craftsman, a man who didn't chase attention. He built emotion. That moment was more than a deal. It was destiny meeting discipline. A decade of quiet work finally echoed loud enough for the world to hear. Syar didn't break into music, he eased into it with patience, with purpose, with that Inglewood soul that can't be taught, only lived. Every melody he made carried fingerprints of those early days. The church choirs, the cracked microphones, the late-night hustles. He wasn't just creating sound. He was documenting survival. Because for Syar, success was never about escaping where he came from. It was about honoring it with every lyric, every beat, every breath. She once told him, "Your voice will take you farther than your feet ever could." She was right. By the time the world heard his name, Syar had already found his purpose not in fame, but in faith in his craft. From small churches to global stages, from fixing instruments to mastering sound, his journey was proof that modest beginnings can create timeless art. He didn't need to shout to be heard. He just needed one song sung honestly enough to change everything. When Syar walked into Top Dog Entertainment in 2017, He wasn't the loudest in the room. He didn't need to be. His calm presence carried the same energy as his soulful, unbothered, quietly precise sound. For most, signing with TDE meant entering the court of legends: Kendrick Lamar, SZA, Schoolboy Q, Isaiah Rashad, names that had already shaped a generation. But Syar wasn't there to compete. He was there to contribute, to add a new kind of rhythm to the roster, one that whispered instead of roared. The studio wasn't just a workspace. It was a sanctuary bathed in amber light. Incense curled through the air while melodies bloomed in the stillness. Nights bled into dawns as Syar layered harmonies, chasing that fragile moment when truth and tone collide. While the world moved fast, he slowed time with sound, building songs like cathedrals of calm. In 2018, his first full-length project under TDE, November, dropped, and it didn't sound like anything else on the label. While others chased trends, Syar built worlds. November wasn't just an album. It was a narrative, a sonic diary of love, doubt, and clarity told through synths, smoky vocals, and space-age soul. He sang about heartbreak like it was science, about distance like it was destiny. Each song felt cinematic, like floating through a dreamscape where R and B met reflection. Critics began calling him the poet-engineer of emotion. Fans called him something simpler real. Then came Something Foreign, the collaboration with SZA that turned quiet respect into thunderous applause. Their voices intertwined like silk and smoke, creating one of the most intimate duets in modern soul. That song didn't just chart it, and suddenly, Syar was no longer the hidden gem of Inglewood. He was a storyteller being streamed across continents. But his true evolution came a year later with Chasing Summer, 2019. An album that didn't just showcase sound, it showcased balance. It was both warm and cold, joy and melancholy. An artist confronting love and loss, clarity and chaos, all while the world watched. The project felt like therapy on vinyl. One critic wrote, "Syar makes heartbreak sound like healing. From Hair Down with Kendrick Lamar to New Sky with Kadja Bonet, every feature, every verse was deliberate. He didn't fill albums with noise. He sculpted silence. He gave modern R&B a heartbeat again. Soft, steady, timeless. But what made Syar truly special wasn't just his voice. It was his process. He'd spend hours alone in the booth, chasing a single note until it felt alive. Sometimes he'd pause mid-session, eyes closed, listening for what the song wanted to become. To him, music wasn't built, it was revealed. By 2020, the world finally caught up. Grammy nominations followed. Sold-out tours stretched from Lagos to London, Tokyo to Toronto. Crowds weren't just singing along, they were closing their eyes, feeling every lyric like a prayer. He became known for something that no award could define: taste. In an era obsessed with virality, SIR represented longevity. He wasn't chasing fame, he was cultivating artistry. Even his performances felt like therapy sessions. No wild theatrics, no fireworks, just tone, truth, and timing. A man using music as meditation. Collaborations poured in: Anderson, Dopak, Jill Scott, Ty Dolla, Hein. Yet through all of it, he stayed grounded. He treated each song like an experiment in emotion, each note like a confession. He once said, "Every track should sound like a moment you can smell." That's SIR turning sound into sense, production into poetry. And yet, just when his fame began to soar, he did something unexpected. He stepped back. In a world addicted to exposure, Syar chose stillness. No press tour, no viral rollout, just a quiet hiatus. Not out of exhaustion, but out of intention. He wanted to hear himself again, to protect the peace that built his career in the first place. While most artists fear silence, Syar used it as fuel. He studied, reconnected, recalibrated, because to him, art isn't constant motion, it's deliberate evolution. That break wasn't the end of a chapter. It was the reset before a masterpiece. When he returned, his tone was sharper. His lyrics, deeper. The same warmth, but wiser. He'd learned what few artists ever do, that fame without freedom is failure in disguise. Through every project, he's proved that consistency can be louder than hype, that you can make timeless music without sacrificing your sanity, that luxury doesn't always shine sometimes, it hums softly in the background. From November to Chasing Summer and beyond, Syar's discography reads like a journal every album, a new chapter in understanding himself. Every melody, a meditation. Every silence, intentional. And as his artistry deepened, so did his impact. He wasn't just redefining R&B, he was redefining what it means to succeed in it. Because success, for Syar, isn't standing on a pedestal. It's standing in peace. At the peak of fame, he did the most powerful thing an artist can do. He paused. And in that silence, he reminded the world that sometimes stillness is the loudest sound of all. Luxury means different things to different people. For some, it's marble floors and private jets. For Syar, it's peace, a kind of calm you can hear in every note he sings. Perched quietly in the hills of Los Angeles, his home isn't a mansion that screams wealth. It hums with it. Every detail feels intentional. The mornings begin with silence and sunlight. A record spins softly while the scent of sandalwood fills the air. His house hums instead of shouts, jazz drifting through the halls, light bending across warm wooden floors. Sometimes, the first sound of his day is a single piano note, played half awake with coffee in hand. No emails, no noise, just music slowly waking the walls. In this house, rhythm replaces routine. Every movement, the opening of a window, the lighting of incense, the quiet hum of a record needle becomes its own meditation. The art on his walls, paintings from local black artists, are abstract, emotional mirrors of his own sound. Each brushstroke feels like a chord. Each color seems to vibrate. A studio tucked beneath the living room serves as his creative heart. Here, under low light and warm tones, he crafts music that feels more like memory than melody. He calls this space the quiet, because to him, silence isn't the absence of sound, it's the birthplace of it. In one corner sits an old keyboard from his mother. It's slightly out of tune, but he never fixes it. He says it reminds him where it all began, that perfection isn't the goal, connection is. He doesn't collect things, he collects calm. Every corner of his home feels like a heartbeat in slow motion, from the sunlight that paints the kitchen counter to the gentle thump of his footsteps echoing across polished wood. Even the furniture tells a story. A hand-carved chair from a local craftsman, shelves lined with old records and handwritten notebooks. On most days, you'll find him barefoot, hoodie on, vinyl spinning. That's his rhythm. No entourage, no chaos, just balance. Sometimes he hums along with no mic, no pressure, just him and sound. The kind of moments no one sees, but that feed everything he creates. But his story of luxury didn't start here. It began in a small apartment back in Inglewood, the kind where creativity had to make room for life. That apartment became his first studio, his sanctuary. He'd light incense, open the window to the city noise, and record vocals that would one day echo around the world. It was humble, but holy, every lyric, every loop, every late-night hum turning that space into a temple of sound. There were nights when he fell asleep to the soft buzz of his laptop, half-finished songs whispering through the speakers. Those early tracks weren't just demos, they were diary entries and quiet confessions caught in rhythm. Even now, he visits that same neighborhood, not to reminisce, but to recharge. He'll stop at the same corner store, greet the same faces, and drive the same narrow streets that raised him. Because no matter how far he's come, he knows real gold isn't found in houses. It's built in moments. And when the noise of the city becomes too much, he escapes. A small cabin sits by Big Bear Lake, his escape from noise. No Wi-Fi, no distractions, just nature, vinyl, and solitude. There, the air smells like cedar and rain. Mornings are quiet except for the sound of birds and the slow crackle of a fire. That's where his most reflective writing happens. He once said, "The best songs come when the world stops talking." Sometimes he'll sit by the window and watch fog roll over the water, notebook in hand, not writing lyrics, but thoughts. It's that balance between city pulse and mountain silence that defines his version of success. And then there are the rides, but not the usual flashy lineup. His daily drive? A Tesla Model S, silent, efficient, fully electric. No exhaust roar, no show-off revs, just motion that matches his energy. Smooth, understated, intentional. Parked next to it sits something different. A vintage Chevrolet Impala, chrome glinting, deep red paint catching the sun. A nod to his LA roots, to the neighborhood cruises and Sunday rides that shaped his youth. That car isn't just metal, it's a memory. He restored it himself with his brothers. Every bolt, every polish stroke, a family ritual. When the engine starts, it's not noise, it's nostalgia. Every vehicle, every home, every choice reflects a single truth. His luxury isn't loud, it's lived. Fashion too follows that same philosophy. No logos, no noise, just texture, tone, and comfort. He wears relaxed luxury linen shirts that breathe, minimalist jewelry, and tailored joggers made by small black designers across Los Angeles. When he steps out, it's never about making a statement. It's about feeling like himself. His collaborations echo that balance. He's worked with brands like Fear of God and Adidas, but his loyalty remains to the independent creators, the ones crafting culture from the ground up. He often says, luxury isn't about price, it's about presence. And while some celebrities chase possessions, Sayar chases peace. He collects experiences, not trophies. Evenings filled with live band sessions, quiet dinners with family, and the occasional glass of fine wine under candlelight. He's been known to host soul nights with no press, no cameras, just music, meditation, and conversation, where every guest leaves lighter than they came. Sometimes those nights end with everyone sitting on the floor, instruments scattered, a single candle flickering. It's less a party, more a pulse, a moment of collective stillness that feels sacred. To him, wealth isn't measured in numbers. It's measured in freedom. Freedom to create, freedom to feel, freedom to stay grounded in a world that keeps floating away. That's the real luxury of living a life that sounds like your own music. Unrushed, unforced, unapologetic. In a culture obsessed with being seen, Sayar reminds us that the best things in life are often heard in laughter, in silence, in song. His home isn't just architecture, it's atmosphere. His cars aren't status symbols, they're storytellers. His clothes aren't trends, they're truths. Every choice speaks to one idea. Luxury isn't excess, it's ease. It's knowing who you are and having the peace to live it every day. Because while the world races to be louder, Sayar has mastered the art of being still. And somehow, that stillness has made the world listen. His lifestyle isn't about having more, it's about needing less. Because true luxury is living on your own frequency. Behind the stage lights and studio sessions, Sayar's greatest masterpiece isn't an album, it's his life off camera. Where most artists chase visibility, he chases peace. And where fame often builds walls, he built a home filled with love. Before the world knew his name, Kelly did. She saw the artist long before the accolades, when the dream was still fragile, when rent was due, and faith had to be louder than fear. They married young, long before luxury entered the frame. She's a makeup artist, calm, grounded, quietly creative. Together, they share a rhythm that fame can't disrupt. Fatherhood changed everything. He calls his son, "my greatest song." Because as he often says, music fades, but the lessons I leave in him will echo forever. He speaks of fatherhood not as a role, but as a responsibility to stay present, to stay patient, to stay kind. His home isn't filled with noise. It's filled with laughter, instruments, and the hum of love. Theirs is a home where creativity feels inherited, where the rhythm of family life and the rhythm of music are one and the same. Sayar rarely posts about his family not out of secrecy, but protection. He believes that real love grows best in silence. He once said, "The more you share with the world, the less the world leaves you to enjoy." At night, instead of scrolling, he meditates. Instead of clubs, he prefers candles and calm. It's that quiet discipline that keeps him balanced between the chaos of the music industry and the calm of home. His spirituality runs deep-rooted in church choirs and childhood prayers. Gratitude isn't something he practices once a year. It's how he starts every morning. A few deep breaths, a silent thank you, a promise to stay grounded, no matter how high life takes him. He's said before, "Every time I make music, I'm just talking to God in a different language." It's that spiritual thread that ties every song, every lyric, every note. His circle reflects that same peace. Kendrick, SCA, Isaiah Rashad, not just collaborators, but companions on a creative journey. They exchange ideas, not egos. In an industry built on competition, they built community. Their friendship is what keeps the art pure. No pretense, just people pushing each other toward truth. And when the spotlight fades, his nights are simple. No VIP sections, no flashing lights, just vinyl records, candles, and a glass of wine. He writes, reflects, sometimes just listens to silence. These are the moments that never make it to headlines, the real currency of a peaceful life. He's often said, "Peace is the most expensive thing I own." And he guards it like treasure. No drama, no noise, just clarity. Every night ends the same with reflection. He writes a few words in his journal, sometimes a lyric, sometimes a prayer, sometimes just a reminder to slow down. It's easy to forget that behind the Grammy nominations, the stage lights, the luxury homes, there's a man who still wakes up, makes coffee, and thanks God for another sunrise. That's the part of success no one sees. The sacred, small joys, the heartbeat behind the music. Maybe that's what makes Sir different. While others perform excess, he lives grace. While others chase applause, he chases peace. Because in the end, the truest kind of wealth isn't found in charts or awards. It's found in the moments that never need to be posted. And in a world that never stops talking, Sayar remains the rare kind of soul who reminds us. Sometimes the quietest lives tell the loudest stories. In a city where fame can often feel louder than purpose, Sayar chooses a different kind of legacy. He gives his rhythm back to the place that raised him. Every few months, he returns to Inglewood not as a celebrity, but as a mentor. He funds local music programs, donates instruments, and spends hours teaching kids how to record, how to write, how to feel music. He once said, "Someone gave me a mic before I knew my own voice. I just want to do the same for someone else." These aren't charity moments for headlines. They're promises to his past self. A reminder that true luxury isn't what you keep, it's what you give. But his influence goes deeper than instruments. Sir has become a quiet advocate for mental health, especially among Black men. He talks about the silence that follows success, the pressure to always be strong, the fear of showing emotion. Through his music, he gives permission to feel, to break, to rebuild, to be human. He's open about therapy, about journaling, about prayer. He tells young men, you don't have to be loud to be heard. You just have to be honest. Songs like New Sky and John Redcorn became more than hits. They became healing spaces, a language for those who didn't know how to express pain until he sang it first. Sayar's activism isn't loud, it's lived. He's teaching a generation that strength can look like stillness, and compassion can look like control. He also champions ownership, telling young artists to protect their masters, their vision, their name. He's not against the industry. He's just rewriting the rulebook for how to survive it with your soul intact. To Sayar, representation isn't about visibility. It's about integrity. It's about showing that you can be successful, spiritual, and self-aware all at once. That balance between art and humility is his greatest message. You don't have to lose yourself to win. In interviews, when asked about legacy, he never mentions fame or awards. He talks about energy, about kindness, about leaving behind more peace than he found. He once said, "Luxury is giving back without needing applause." And that line became the heartbeat of his philosophy. His legacy isn't just musical, it's spiritual. He's building something that can't be streamed or charted, a ripple effect of compassion. For every note he sings, there's a message behind it, that you can be soft and strong, famous and faithful, grounded and great. Because in a world obsessed with noise, Syar's impact moves quietly but deeply. Through mentorship, honesty, and art, he's shaping a new definition of success. And maybe that's the point. The true mark of legacy isn't how many people know your name. It's how many people feel your kindness. He didn't chase luxury, he designed it. Not with gold or noise, but with time, truth, and peace. Every melody, every moment, shaped with intention. Because for Syar, success isn't about more, it's about meaning. From Inglewood to world stages, his rhythm stayed the same, slow, soulful, sincere. He reminds us that luxury isn't what shines, it's what stays. So ask yourself, is Syar the future of soulful luxury or the last of a rare kind? If stories like this inspire you, like and subscribe to the Black Empire Files, where rhythm meets royalty and every story turns sound into legacy.